Welcome to Making Awesome Chapter 14. We were going to have a guest, but things didn't work out, so we're just gonna SEO this episode up. We're gonna put it right in the beginning. This episode is all about the most commonly asked questions from Google. We're not great with SEO, so this is a great way to get better with SEO. Use all the questions that Google looks for. So we're just going to kind of talk about, some of the common questions that you see. One of the first ones is a funny one. So this was literally, we went to Google, we typed in 3D printing, and we waited for autocomplete. And this is some of the questions that we got. So the first question is it illegal to 3D print a 3D printer? We're going to do kind of a round robin style. Tad, why don't you go first? Actually, before we get to that, we got to hit the billing department, right? This episode was brought to you by 3D Musketeers. As always, 3D Musketeers is our core sponsor. Will always end forever, my bay, and the bay of most others here. Among our others, of course, but this is this is the one that pays us.
The real bays.
The ones that pay us, Yeah,
exactly.
We got ourselves a sugar something or other. But 3D Musketeers is here to help you.
Okay.
3D Musketeers is here to help you take your ideas to reality, art to part, product development. If you want to make awesome with the other hosts here in this podcast, you can reach out to us at 3dmusketeers.com. You can call us at 813-803-4973 or email us at info@3dmusketeers.com. You can find all that in the link in the description. I'm Grant. Tad is off to my left. Yes, my left. And Thomas is down below me. Let's get it, guys. Chapter 14. Is it illegal to 3D print a 3D printer? Tad, what do you think?
No.
No?
I don't think they're regulated, for one thing.
Okay.
And second of all, you can only print so much of it. So, like parts of the frame and stuff. Because you still need motors. You still need... The bed is not going to be 3D printed. Unless you're printing something that doesn't need heating.
You could do
yeah. No. Because the parts that you would need to print to make a 3D printer are the same as any kind of other parts you could make. So, no. Definitely not illegal.
I hear that. Yeah.
Until they become sentient, and then we have to legislate that.
See, my thing is, like, hypothetically, say that you could print an entire 3D printer, like no problem. Like, what's stopping you from designing and printing a 3D printer? Like, the 3D printer has like a program built into it that when it notices you've been printing parts to build a new 3D printer, it just stops working and calls the FBI. Like
DRM.
Yeah, like what it would be like the only way that this would be illegal if you had like a printer and you were like, time to print someone else's 3D printer design that I've stolen from their vault of 3D printer designs, like, because that would be like, that's the only way, right? The only way that you can make it illegal is like, I'm going to print an entire printer that someone else owns the rights to.
Yeah.
And then that's probably not even illegal. Then it only becomes illegal if you start selling your 3D printed other people's 3D printers.
That's the caveat.
Exactly.
My answer is no asterisk. It is not illegal mostly. So you can 3D print a 3D printer. Literally every printer behind me has 3D printed parts on it, whether it's the Fusion 3 F410. If you're interested in buying one of those, you can reach out to us at 3dmusketeers.com. The Lulzbot Taz 6, which is now a deprecated machine. Nobody makes them anymore, but it's fully open source, and it's got quite a few 3D printed parts. Or the current king amongst kings, the Prusa i3 Mark, the original Prusa i3 Mark 3S. These are not the Plus versions, so we're actually a model year behind. But they all have 3D printed parts on them. And without 3D printing, none of these machines would function. So what came first? The 3D printer or the 3D printed parts?
Something crudely carved out of wood, probably.
Yes. So actually, yes, you're right. The MakerBot Cupcake and the MakerBot Thingomatic were all laser cut. But yes, there is... You have some legalities, right? There are copywritten and patented things. Like if you make your own 3D printer with a heated build enclosure, so like the enclosure itself has a heater, and you go to sell it, you will get shut down because that is currently illegal. It is patented by Stratasys. If you call an FDM 3D printer, fused deposition modeling, that is illegal because that is patented by Stratasys. So they can shut you down for that. That's why fused filament fabrication has become kind of the new norm here.
Saying the same thing with different words.
Right, same, but different.
Yeah.
But yes, it's not illegal to 3D print a 3D printer.
That's still assuming you could print an entire 3D printer, every
Exactly.
single part, and then be able to use it.
There was a Redditor a while ago that set out to make the most 3D printer that they could. Like they even 3D printed the belts. They did that on a TPU. They 3D printed the motors, but they needed to use copper and some steel plates and some magnets and things for it. But I mean, they got a lot. It did not work. Like it could move, but it wasn't going to 3D print. But like that is kind of the basis of the RepRap project, right? The self-replicating machine to where you can make your own replacement parts and eventually build your own next machine. The TAS is a great example of this. The TAS, its Y-axis, so its bed axis belt is incredibly tight, and it needs to be because that printer doesn't actually have bearings. It uses iGoose, Drylin. They call them bearings, but they're bushings, okay? They're bushings.
Right.
It's hard.
It's like a self-lubricating plastic.
It is. It's like Delrin, and it's like crazy. It's not tight, so you can really wiggle it, but the machine is so heavy that it's not really a problem. Its Y-axis is notorious for breaking its idler pulley, and so we've printed them, and we have a spare because I'm tired of super gluing the printer back together and then yelling at it to make its own replacement part. Because yes, we could make it on one of the other machines. But yeah, it is the right thing to do is to make its own parts because so then what is the purpose of 3D printing? If it's not illegal to make a 3D printer, what is the purpose of 3D printing? Let's start with Thomas on this one. What do you think, Thomas? What is the purpose of 3D printing?
And to be able to me, 3D printing is like to be able to take something from your desktop or whatever you're working on that you've since modeled and then be able to hold it in your hands, like in real space. Like that's the craziest thing for me with 3D printing altogether is like I could make something on the computer and then I could scale it to a size that I want it and say I'm like because I think like a designer, right? So I'm a product designer and I want the product to fit in my hand a certain way. I have now modeled this to work a certain way and I can, with,
test it out.
Let's say 10 hours, a 10-hour print. I throw that puppy on, I go to bed, I go do other work, whatever. I come back and I can now hold the product in my hand. And then I find out that the pinky doesn't have a place to go. So now I can edit it. And that's great because otherwise you can't get that user testing right away. And to me, that's why it's so cool because you can like rapid prototype, and I think, and also make funny toys and things. I think
half this industry is memes.
Yeah. I think it's great, but that's awesome too because it's like that idea of we talk about it in graphic design a lot because people are so quick to think that graphic designers are people that just sit on their computer and like make computer-based design work all the time. But we started as printmakers. Like we were working on presses, with like we were melting down metal and making lines of type on linotype machines for newspapers. And we set type by hand to make books. And we laid out all those things. And that was what a graphic designer was. And so we're really like physically based. And a lot of designers work in like signage for like an airport. So like wayfinding, which is a real tangible thing. And a lot of the time graphic designers move into product design. So now and packaging design is a huge thing that graphic designers divulge into. And so to be able to take something from your head or from a drawing or anything and then make a physical object from what was not physical before is like the most gratifying, coolest thing. Like that's what we do.
We make awesome.
So got it.
We all make awesome in various ways.
Roll credits. We're done. That's the episode, everybody. We got to the point real
fade
quick.
to black right now and just give us like the Seinfeld credits. If we had an editor, that would be funny.
And if we had the rights to the Seinfeld credits.
Okay, but if we use like 2 seconds of it, it falls under fair use.
I was gonna say.
Yes. Yeah.
You need the
Cool.
end credits for It's Always Sunny.
Well, now
Yeah,
you've
yeah.
spoken, so now you have, since we are recording, you have to now come in and introduce yourself.
Come on, John.
What camera are we on?
Get in here.
The only camera that's here.
Hi.
Say hi to the folks at home.
Hi, Internet.
Yeah.
I'm Jonathan. I'm his identical twin. We'll go with that. I'm larger.
Grant's identical twin. Remember,
Yes.
we have people audio only,
That's true.
you know. But yes, we're actually recording an episode.
Okay. You have a computer. Edit it out.
I don't know how to do that. I'm literally gonna, as soon as we're done recording, this is going up on the internet, okay? Just,
Lossless cut. It's fantastic and it's free.
I don't know how to do this. You're asking all this effort out of me.
You drag it in and you click cut.
Is it really that easy?
It's
It is really easy.
You can cut all of this right now.
All right, get out of here.
No,
Get out of
no.
here. Do I need
We'll
an
keep it
on-air
in.
button? Good lord. I'm going to 3D print an on-air button.
That'd be hilarious. That's great content, Grant. Put that
Yeah.
up on Twitter. Yeah.
Making an on-air button.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's hilarious. Put a
See-
little LED in there.
I gotta steal Brad's printer to use the tool changer so we could actually do white and red in one print instead of just doing it in 2 pieces and gluing it together, which is how I would do it.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, that was my really long-winded response to that question. But that's
Yeah.
where I'm at.
Look, I think you hit the nail on the head, right? I think you hit the nail on the proverbial head. That really is the purpose of 3D printing. It is all to just make cool stuff. I know originally it was to fix things and to make stuff that was old, like to fix, I forget what one of the original things that Rich did. It's irrelevant at this point, but yes, right now it is used all the time to fix things around homes. But yeah, a lot of people use it to do memes. And kind of the new trend. What's up, Billy? I'm going to be on her podcast, Meet the Maker, soon. Look, I can even add that in the credits now.
There you go.
But Billy Rubin, she's becoming nothing short of internet famous. Now she just won a huge contest, got a Prusa Mini out of the deal for her 3D printing on fabric, but she just came out with a video on 3D printing realistic feathers.
Oh, that's
Which is
cool.
really,
cool.
really cool. Yeah.
How do you even do that well?
You
Well,
have to
Tad, if you
watch
watch
the
the
video.
video, maybe you'd find out.
So
Touche.
I think the other thing that is like the huge, gigantic point and advantage of 3D printing is another graphic designer printmaker thing. Just like printmaking, the reason that we made parts and linotype machines and woodcut prints is so that we can have exactly the same thing over and over and over again with no differences between them.
Yeah.
Quantity. We want the same thing to be indecipherable from the other over and over again, and 3D printing can make the same 3D object with a relative, really
enough
small,
Mostly
government
the same.
work, yeah.
really
Yeah.
small margin of error, just like normal, just like if I was printmaking something. But now you have the multiple, right? Now we can print the same thing and know that it will be the same over and over and over.
By
and
the
over
same
again.
token, you're also not locked into that. Like you said before, you can
Yeah.
make changes on the fly, so you can iterate rapidly.
Yeah, it's awesome.
And cosplaying, I think, has been one of the best industries
Yeah.
that has benefited from 3D printing, right? I mean, they've also benefited hugely from laser cutters because Pepakura has now become so much easier to do because you don't got to just put the damn print in there, put the file into the laser, throw some paper in there, clickety-clack, 2 minutes later, you got yourself a helmet. But, the ability
Well, you got to
to
fold it first.
That's why it's 2 minutes later, Tad. Come on.
2 minutes.
2 minutes.
Oh, dude, we can cut through paper so quick. It's
No,
incredible.
no,
folding.
not not the cutting, Grant. The folding and the gluing.
As someone that's
And
never
the-
done it, I assumed it didn't take very long, but clearly I'm wrong
No,
here.
you like a day.
Folding is an art in itself.
Yeah.
Excuse me.
Gotta pre-fold the whole thing before you even can apply the glue. But
That's why I
it's
want
much
to do that on
easier,
like
I'm sure,
sheet
to-
metal and I can spot weld it.
That's true. It's probably a lot easier to using the laser to cut it out than to have to sit there with scissors and
Oh God,
go
yes,
around the
yeah,
hole.
it's way
Yeah.
quick, and you can even do EVA foam, even though you shouldn't. You can, but
you shouldn't.
doing cosplay pieces just got so much easier with 3D printing. Resin casting has gotten easier with 3D printing, as you don't have to sculpt physically
Yeah.
your master. You can sculpt it digitally, 3D print it, and then it's as even as possible on all sides.
I think it was on like Hackable or something today. I read an article of a guy who does like 3D printed lost wax casting.
Yeah, we do that.
Yeah. It's great.
Well,
Is there a
We do it, and then the customer does. Yeah.
yeah.
Grant? Is there? I haven't. I guess for some reason never thought of this. This might be a small tangent, but I'm really curious.
Let's
This
do
is
it.
my question, not Google's question. We were talking about 3D scanners a bit ago.
Mhm.
Is there a 3D printer that you could place an object on the bed and then it will scan said object and just load that object right into whatever
Yes.
printing software you have?
There it
That
is.
is so cool.
Because I
Except
feel like
the
that needs
fidelity
some-
is absolute hot garbage.
Yeah.
So-
I was
It
going to
is
say the
incredibly
post processing.
There's
It-
room to improve, but that's cool.
It's the same principle of like, the jack of all trades, master of none, certainly better than a master of one. Do one thing as a machine, right?
Yeah.
The snap maker is like the machine that I really look at when I say these things, because they've got a milling head, a 3D printer, and a laser head.
And I'm sure it does none of it well.
I think it does okay 3D prints, and naturally the laser's going to work fine. It's a
Yeah, 'cause
diode
it's only-
laser without any protection. So don't look at laser with remaining good eye. And then the CNC is garbage. It's garbage
Yeah.
because a 3D printer does not have to deal with forces of running into something. Or it shouldn't have to, at least. So
That's
if
why,
it does, then we have
vertical
issues.
milling machines are like,
I mean, we
a
have an
ton.
X-Carve, which is, less than $1,000, and it is
Yeah.
more than capable of doing, small CNC milling jobs. It can do aluminum. That's about as far as it goes, because it's
I
it's
think
the rigidity
harder
is your
is-
problem.
yeah.
But yeah, MakerBot had one. I'm trying to think of who else had one. They don't make them anymore for a reason. They're incredibly complicated. And for the cost of a cheap 3D scanner, like you can go get a structure occipital scanner for $400 plus an iPad, and you now have a 3D scanner. Now, of course, the new iPads and the new iPhones all have LiDAR scanners on them. I am curious to try out the new iPhone 12 Pro LiDAR scanner. I'm told it punches way above its weight class. And if that's the case,
It's cheaper probably than getting a dedicated 3D scanner, right?
I don't know. And I don't want to talk
Well-
too much about that subject. We can talk about it off recording.
Yeah.
But it is something that we might end up doing. I don't want to talk about the companies because neither of these companies have resellers in the area. And I want to lock this, I want to lock it down if we're going to do it. But
Yeah.
I was able to make a pretty decent 3D model of my head just with my phone, and it was like pretty decent.
yeah, and human heads are actually like, that's why we have an occipital structure scanner, is purely to scan people. Because at the end
Yeah.
of the day, when you are taking a 6 foot tall person or 5'4", sorry, Tad, I don't want to.
It's all right. But we won't we don't have to
It
walk
worked.
on eggshells about it.
No, I just like making fun of you every now and then.
Jesus.
Because
you and everybody else.
For those that want a little behind the scenes, Tad is 0 for 4 of showing up on time for a recording. That's okay. That's okay. We love you, Tad. We love you. We know you've had a hard week.
I don't know how to function in society
We-
since quarantine began.
And you almost had COVID.
Almost. That's true. Yeah,
But-
luckily came up but negative, and through no fault of my own. I've been so careful this whole
Yes.
time.
Yes, you
And
have.
yet.
Yeah.
I had a scare too, but it was not COVID also. But yeah, I just got crazy flu a while ago.
I was going to say penicillin normally cures the early on-stage syphilis, so you should be okay.
That was going in a completely different direction.
Very different direction.
I instantly went the STD route because I know it would be better for the laughs. You know, Thomas is being serious. I'm over here trying to think of what is the quick cure for early syphilis. I'm pretty sure it's penicillin.
Yeah, and now we have that in the SEO. We have both penicillin and syphilis. Yeah, so that's good.
No, I got to remember to do all this too. I got to put all this stuff together. But I think Thomas hit the nail on the head, right, with the purpose of 3D printing. And I don't even think it. I mean, I don't have anything else to add. Do you, Tad? No.
I
All right.
think we covered that.
Let's go to the next one, and I'm going to read this verbatim of how it comes from Google. What is
Awesome.
3D printing examples?
I have
Grammar.
one.
Grammar. Look,
The crow dog.
well, again, we have audio only here, and
It's the body of a pug with the head of a crow. I found this on Thingiverse and printed it for Thomas because it was the most off the wall thing I could find of. Yeah. And he drew a butthole on it because, of course.
I mean, he's a graphic artist. That's what they do.
It's what
That's what we do.
Draw
Yeah.
buttholes on things.
Yeah, I mean,
The short description of our job. That's what we do.
yeah, that one. What is 3D printing examples? You know what? Just go to 3dmusketeers.com.
We have lots of examples.
We have examples, and if you still need more, just call us. All right. And you know what? Before we hit the next, how far are we in on this episode? We're not early enough for a mid roll. I'm told that we need to
What do
start
they got?
doing mid rolls
Mid rolls. What the heck is a mid roll?
and add in the middle of things.
Whose ad?
Yeah,
My
who's
ad.
Who in their right mind would support this?
The people that pay you.
I don't know.
Darn
If
it.
we need examples, I've got examples.
I think, well, I guess the best way to be like examples of 3D printing would be like what? It would be like replacement parts for things, making useful things around your home, but also
So
what is being 3D printed like industrially would be
Yeah.
a great example of like what does it do?
well, for like useful things around the home. So my incidental contact of a COVID positive person, that came from me buying a car recently. And I bought a dash cam, which I'm going to install at some point.
What dash cam did you get?
And it's a Rexing.
Oh, should have asked me, man. I love my dash cam. I use a Yi dash cam. They're like $40.
Oh, well, I got the front and back.
Ooh, fancy.
Yeah. So
Is
which
it
means I
wi-
have to run. I got to run a cable
for
from
what?
the front to the back
For power?
for the rear dash cam. Yeah.
Does it just need power?
Yeah.
Pull it from the rear. Frig, what is it? License plate light. You can pull it from the license plate light. Those are they should always be on in cars.
I
Although
will
they
have
may
to look
not
at that.
be. I'm not certain.
But anyway, in anticipation of having to run cables places, I 3D printed some little pry bars.
Oh, look
You
at
know,
you.
to
Because the $10
softly-
kit from Amazon is not good enough.
Well, but I had PETG here, so I was like,
Go
I might
for
as
it,
well.
dude.
Yeah, so that's one example.
Although with those new cars, you should be able to just kind of tuck it under stuff without having to pry anything off.
I wasn't gonna like pry hard. I'm just talking like on the A pillar to get the one from right by the rear view mirror. Kinda
Oh, dude, you just
the
tuck it.
cable.
You just tuck it up in there.
Yeah,
You
no,
shouldn't
I'm
have
just
to
gonna-
open anything. Oh, to just
All
kind
right.
of. Okay, I see what you're doing.
Yeah, I
Okay,
just
okay.
lever a little bit so I can shove it under there.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
It'll be nice and snug.
For all you out there that don't have dash cams, get a damn dash cam.
Mm-hmm.
One, it's great when people do dumb shit in front of you. Tad's getting the one that's on the front and back. The Yi cam that I use, the Yi dash cam, is only front. You could get another one for the rear, but
Hey,
meh. Oh, there she is, our favorite co-host.
let's show off your new toy. She got something for Hanukkah.
Oh,
is
she got
like
I'm not honestly
a
sure what
bunny.
that is.
Yeah, I
It's
don't
like
know
some
what
kind
it
of
is
a
either.
bunny, but it's also bone shaped. I don't know. Oh
Oh
yeah,
Lord.
and
Horrifying.
this monstrosity.
She got
Oh,
a
a stuffed dreidel. Jesus.
That sounds
imagine-
terrible.
Imagine
That's
hearing this
awful.
in the dead of night because she stepped on it or bit it or something.
Why did you do that to yourself?
Yeah,
I
that,
didn't
Like that's
get
a
it.
decision
those
that
are
was
you
toys
a
guys
that you
gift.
buy
made.
for other
That
people.
was a gift from somebody else.
Ah,
So now we're
yes.
stuck with it.
Whoever
She
sent
loves
that.
it.
Whoever sent that.
She goes wild whenever it makes that noise and just starts going ah.
Good. I forget that I need to buy your dog something. I'm gonna buy her something obnoxious. It's like those.
Thanks.
Do they still make those toys that only move when you scream at them? Those are the best gifts for new parents. The best
Oh,
gifts.
God.
Oh yeah. Oh, it's a toy that the louder you scream, the faster it moves. That is the perfect
Jeez.
gift for someone that you just want to torment.
You need to get Victoria that little salmon that wiggles.
I saw them. I don't know if it's gonna work well for her.
Yeah.
Aren't they like $20?
I don't know, but apparently every cat I've seen play with one loves it.
Well, she's
What is this
currently
called?
enthralled by the outdoor cat that we have now.
Oh.
And it has now taken up home on our porch. And Victoria's not a huge fan of other cats. She won't do anything. She just kind of gets all puffy.
Yeah.
And the outdoor cat has figured this out. It is constantly taunting Victoria. And it is kind of beautiful. So I'm looking at these like the official version is the
Floppy fish.
the flippity fish.
It's like $25.
Yeah, none of them have great reviews. Maybe honestly, Victoria loves the dollar store cat toys. Just loves them. So it's nice and easy to get her a little treat because it's like $3 and she's got toys for the next 6 months until she loses them. But no, let me see if for our viewers that are watching us on YouTube, we have Victoria stickers, and maybe one day soon we're gonna include some of these in packages. So the deal is we're gonna start having stickers because apparently we're gonna start doing marketing because that's a thing. And
That's a thing.
we're gonna any order over $10 we're gonna include some stickers into it. But after ordering these, I realized that we've got the company logos, which all right, we'll tease those real quick since we haven't actually released the one that we chose. But yep.
It looks good.
God, they look so good.
And
That is
then there's
so good.
then there's this one.
Grant, when I get my payment in 3D printed cookies, do I get a few stickers too?
I never, Brad actually found a cookie, a cookie for us to print, and I never got around to doing it. That just reminded me
God.
that I need to do it to send you a 3D printed cookie.
Yeah.
Yes, I'm gonna send all. You guys are all gonna get some stickers. Don't worry.
All right.
I'm excited.
I gotta make you all some business cards too. Get you some nice wood business cards. But
Cool.
yeah, something different.
With the new logo.
yes, with the new logo. They look
Rolling
great.
out.
And
They look
especially
so
now
good.
that it's all vectorized, it comes out so good on the laser.
That should look a lot
That's
better.
It does.
That's what I'm telling you. That's why you use vector as industry standard, and you should always have a logo that is vector safe because it's going to make your life so easy,
Oh, yeah.
especially for a company that does laser cutting and other such things.
Look, I never said we got everything right, okay?
No, I
Okay?
know.
It's a work in progress.
It is a work in progress. And then, for those that are audio only, Thomas, and I'm going to give Thomas a bit of a shout out here. Thomas will draw your animals or, whatever animals you want for $20 an animal. So, and I would normally
pretty
say
good
like
deal.
$30 and then tell them to go
Yeah,
through
by
me
the
so
way-
I can take some off the top, but no.
That's a pretty low price for a drawn commission. I'll just put that out.
Should I say that was wrong and go with a higher number?
No, that's a great. That's what I do, right? That's the actual number. I'm not gonna start
Okay.
jacking it up.
I mean, look, you can. You have the opportunity. Jonathan just sent me the software that we need to use.
Yeah. I think just to finish this tangent off, I think I've drawn like over 50 animals now
Yep,
since
you
I
just did my
started doing
dad's
this.
dog.
You're making bank.
He was so cute.
Drago's a
such
great
a
dog.
cutie.
Yeah, Drago's awesome.
He's so cute.
Dogo Argentino. I don't know. They're crazy hardcore hunting dogs that. Oh
So
man,
cute.
that thing is a hair missile. That dog is a hair missile. I have more fat in my stomach than that dog has on his entire body. Like when that dog runs, you can see the muscle tone. It's like this dog is jacked.
Yeah. But yeah, so that's been good.
But what is 3D printing examples? I don't know, man. I don't. And if you do want to get your animal drawn, just reach out to us, podcast 3dmusketeers.com. I'll send the pictures over to Thomas, and then he'll take it from there. But
So, you know what's a crazy example of 3D printing that I saw recently? Because now that I'm like looking at, I'm immersing myself in the industry to do better marketing. I saw that they just tested like a rocket booster that was 3D printed and it survived like 23 test fires or something. So as far as examples go, it goes from everything from a toy to a literal booster rocket.
I actually met someone. I only know her as Incanel. Her Twitter handle is Incanel, but ELLE. So that's her Twitter handle, and all she does is 3D print metal, specifically Incanel. And Incanel has some interesting properties that,
For those who don't know,
the harder you hit it, the harder it becomes. Incanel is incredibly difficult to 3D print, and part of her job entails making stuff that she can't talk about out of Incanel, and I can promise you, it's rocket stuff.
oh yeah,
I don't need to know.
It is certainly
I don't need her to
rocket
tell
stuff.
me to know that it's rocket stuff. Nobody else 3D prints an Incanel. There's no other reason.
there's no use for it. Well, it has incredibly good heat transfer properties as well.
Yeah.
I guess the whole thing, I mean, we talked about this in another podcast, but like if you can figure out a way, we have the software, and I guess then all it is up to you to figure out what it's made out of and how you're going to get that material to do that. Because we talked about concrete, metal, plastics, obviously, already. So
I want to have Incanel on. I want to have Incanel on to talk about it. She just recorded her episode with Billy, so I guess we're kind of copying Billy for that one. But I will have you know, this is episode 14. I think Billy's on 5 or 6. So we were doing this first. Sorry, Billy. I mean, we're not doing Meet the Maker. We're doing more kind of interview, question-y style. Of course, I don't know how her interview went with Incanel, but I am excited to do mine with hers. But there's room for plenty of people here. We want to focus more on the inventors, but I mean, come on. 3D printing metal is just dope.
It's so cool.
Yeah, I want her to talk about all the cool stuff. Anyways, 3D printing examples, your average 3D printer, think if you duct taped a hot glue gun to an Etch-a-Sketch. That's an example of a 3D printer. We're going to move on. What companies are using 3D printing?
Everybody worth their salt should be using 3D printing.
And if you're not, and you are a company that's listening to us, Tad, thank you for that segue into our sponsor, 3D Musketeers. Look at that, it's an LTT style sponsor. I have some LTTstore.com fake. Anyways, we'll get into that later. Segue into our sponsor, 3D Musketeers. 3D Musketeers is here to help your business start utilizing 3D printing. Bring your business to the 21st century. Get out of the Iron Age. Get into the age of making cool shit. And do it with 3D Musketeers. All the information is in the description down below. So what companies are using 3D printing? And Tad, you're right. Any company worth a salt. But what are some examples that you're aware of?
Well, in my own world, which I can't go too much into detail, fixtures, replacement parts, that kind of stuff. Easy, low-hanging fruit for 3D printing.
Dude, fixtures are so awesome for 3D printing. Yeah. Because especially for like doing die stamping, or if you needed to do a robotic welding process, use a 3D printer to make the jig. When you're done, you throw it away. Or recycle it, as you properly should. But let's be real, companies unfortunately don't do that. But this would enable you to not store all your damn jigs and then not have to pay somebody a ton of money to make one. You don't got to pay one of your guys who's making way too much money as a welder to weld you up a jig that may not be perfect. You can do it via 3D printing. That'll get you within 2,000 or 3 thousandths if you have a well-tuned printer, of course.
What's the difference between a jig and a fixture?
Oh, shit. I don't know. Thomas, do you know what's the difference between a jig and a fixture?
No idea.
A jig, that's like a measurement of alcohol, right? And a
That's
fixture.
a jug. Isn't
No,
it?
there's a
Jig is a thing?
I know there's
Is this a thing?
I thought so.
Jig measurements.
I always thought they were interchangeable. They're not interchangeable?
I'm not going to say that word out loud.
Yeah. I know it's very close to.
It's not what you thought it was.
Some racially charged language, but yes, okay, it's not. All right, well, oh well.
That went a place.
Okay, so what? I've always used them interchangeably. Am I wrong?
Not entirely. I can't remember which way it is. If not all jigs are fixtures, but all fixtures are jigs, or vice versa.
And a vice is different too. A vice can be both a fixture and a jig.
That's true. So my understanding was a fixture holds work, that you're doing things to. But a jig is usually for directing tools, right? Like you've all seen a drill jig. It's just a thing that makes it so the bit goes straight.
Demonetized.
Yeah. So like a bushing could be used as a jig.
Yeah.
To make a stark contrast to that, I guess another company that would. This is an interesting one that I think is way different, but Hero Forge, which is a custom mini
people.
website. They make minis for like your tabletop games, like Dungeons and Dragons and whatever. All of their minis are 3D printed, or at least the plastic ones I know for sure.
Yes,
3D
they are
printed.
all 3D printed, and you can actually get custom minis from them. I think it's $10 to buy the STL. Then you can send them over to 3D Musketeers, and we can print them for you. And the trick,
you can buy.
Yeah,
wait, you can
just
buy
get the STL now?
No way! Are you serious? You can
That's
buy the
awesome.
STL. I didn't know you could do that.
It's been like this for a while. Tad, do you remember the Drunken Uncle that we 3D printed? The little Drunken Uncle mini. That was a Hero Forge mini. Now, I will say, do not put text on the bottom of your minis. It is such a pain in the ass to support. I hate it. I hate it. Don't put text on the bottom of your minis. Just get them. I don't care how crazy intricate they are. Normally, a 40 millimeter tall mini is like $5. It's crazy cheap. And the trick is, if you buy the STL and you want to make more than one, it is always a better bet to come to 3D Musketeers than it is to go through Hero Forge. If you just want one, it's basically a wash. I think they charge $15 per model if you want to print it through them. So if you're doing just one, you can do it through them, fine. But if you're doing multiples, absolutely look at using 3D Musketeers.
I'm pretty sure I supported them on Kickstarter when they started out.
They're great.
I wholly support what they do.
Great.
I wish we could compete with them. I really do. I think there's plenty of market there, but man, there's so much upfront cost to this.
Well, and their real innovation, I think, is that they have the almost like a character creator.
Right.
And it works really well.
All the assets are pre-created, and that's the trick.
Yeah.
And then I guess they're like procedurally generating the bodies. It's really cool as to how this is done.
The posing is procedurally generated. Like you pick it out.
It's really smart.
I'm guessing the assets were pre-done. Like they paid designers to pre-do the assets, but then the bodies are
100%.
procedurally generated based on an algorithm with I don't know. They would be a really cool guest. We should reach out.
I've used it before, just like for fun. I've never gotten one printed, but I just wanted to see how like deep and far you could take it. And
it's pretty good, and they're adding stuff all the time. And
it's pretty rare that any of the model pieces actually clip. You kind of like have to force it to like start clipping into each other. So it's pretty good, guys. Anyway, this episode brought to you by
Hero Forge.
No,
please pay
they're
us.
Not paying us. No, they get nothing.
We already talked so much good about them. We basically We already
was their
completed the ad
advertising.
block. But that's a company that's using it, and I feel like the government is using it all over the place for whatever they need. Industrial car parts. I think there's a lot of car parts that are getting more and more 3D printed, right?
The ones that I like are like the hypercar manufacturers that utilize 3D printing: Pagani, Koenigsegg, Lamborghini, Ferrari, Bugatti, which is Volkswagen, I guess. You have Rimac. Some of these crazy companies, because they make so few of certain cars,
They can afford to just do it by.
It literally doesn't pay to do it traditionally. It makes more sense for them to.
The
3D
tooling
print
would
it.
be too expensive.
Exactly.
Well,
the
what's
jigs and the
crazy-
fixtures would cost incredibly too much.
Yeah.
Unless you're going to mass produce something, jigs and fixtures, even if you 3D printed them, can still be quite an expense, because what people seem for some reason to still miss is that the art is almost always the most expensive part.
That's true.
What were you saying,
Yeah.
Thomas?
I was just gonna say, like, as far as that goes, yeah, it's like the difference between like having a full assembly line for the vehicle, which you then have to I don't know a ton about
Yeah.
production, but you would either have a bunch of robots or people on an assembly line, and then suddenly you're like, oh no, the doors are wrong and don't fit onto the body of the
And
car.
everything that you've invested at that point is worthless.
And now you have to either reprogram the robots, you have to fix whatever different pieces. You maybe have to bring in a new machine to fix what you already screwed up on the door. But as far as 3D printing goes, you're like, oh no. And then you add the thing into it, and now you have a better piece that helps it work, right?
Well, this is
So
a big
it's like
problem in like aerospace, well, and rockets too. One of the advantages, like what company was it that was doing the tank out of what the
Like
heck
the
was
fuel
it?
tank?
Yeah, like the fuel tank. I forget
Yeah.
who it was.
It wasn't
And for, like-
it was either ULA or
Yeah.
SpaceX, right?
One of them. The benefits there are, like especially for like carbon fiber or other composite parts, they have to have like a big. It's not like a mold. It's kind of a. What's it called? I'm having a brain fart. There's a shaped thing that's the shape of the final part that they would lay their fiber things on and then impregnate it with resin and let it cure. Those
Like
kinds
a
of
layup
things.
jig?
Is that what it's called?
I
Would it
don't.
not just be a mold?
It's not.
Really a mold. Let me see here. Carbon fiber.
Because I've always called it like a layup jig, but I'm
Jig.
probably wrong.
Carbon fiber.
Not
a
my
mold.
area.
Yeah. Anyway, it's
I've
whatever they
I've
use.
walked by ULA a couple of times, and I've been incredibly close to SpaceX.
Yeah.
Both they're down the street from each other. Really, really cool companies. And living in Florida, one of the coolest things is when you kind of forget there's a rocket launch going off, and I'm on the west coast of Florida, about 90 miles away from the Cape, as the crow flies. But every now and then you'll see a little matchstick going up. I'm like, oh, Elon's up to something.
Yep.
I almost met Elon Musk one time. That was a
Really?
weird. Yeah, when I was in Colorado working for Lockheed. It wasn't Lockheed affiliated. It was like CU Boulder affiliated, and he was there in the area.
Elon was
at the
set to be a
time.
customer.
Oh my
And
god!
the client that was working on it just disappeared. Like social media went dark,
That's not a
email
good
went
sign.
dark, everything just stopped working. So I don't know what happened, but I mean they're the ones that were responsible for getting us Snoop Dogg, Anthony Anderson, Lawrence Fishburne, those kind of guys. So still pretty cool.
Yeah.
The last question is like, what is the disadvantages of 3D printing? But we discussed that in an entire episode, so we'll put that. We'll link that episode down below. But I'm trying to think of some other companies. I mean, obviously 3D Musketeers, but
Yeah.
I think Tad kind of hit it right. Any company worth a salt. Thomas, do you have any? It's like in your day to day, are there any companies that you're aware of that utilize 3D printing?
I know there's like a 3D printing company like in Bozeman that, but
Really?
they just do 3D printing, for whatever people would need. I don't think I'm trying to think of something that I would use day to day that is like that might be utilizing 3D printing, and I don't think I have a lot off the top of my head. Yeah, I mean, Hero Forge was more like mine, and then I know that it's being used industrially, like big time.
Mhm.
So those are kind of the ones that I think of immediately.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah.
prototyping and product development; those are the big ones.
Well, Thomas, you had some questions, and
Yeah.
we opted to not go over them pre-show. So I'm curious to see what you got here. What do you got for me, buddy?
All right. Is 3D printing sustainable? We talked
Can
about
you-
this last time, but
Well, I'm curious as to what you mean by sustainable. Are you talking like long-term usability or sustainable in terms of green?
let's move it into the conversation of green. I feel like that's a quicker, like, convo. I feel like we can talk about the greenness of 3D printing as opposed to maybe more traditional manufacturing methods. Like my first idea goes to, oh, like if we can print a part and rapid prototype it, we're gonna like have a lot less waste in the end of the development cycle, especially if we can print it at a smaller scale. Instead of making a mold,
Having
doing
to make a bunch of parts that ended up
yeah,
being
and then
wrong.
make a ton, right? You're now making fewer parts until you come to the final production line. So I think in that case, you're probably in the long run ending up with less waste than traditional manufacturing methods.
It's also a additive versus a subtractive manufacturing method. So
That's
it's not
the
like,
big difference.
yeah,
So you're using what you need.
only what
and-
you need and not,
Yeah.
having to get rid of a bunch of excess.
Oh yeah, you'll
Yeah.
have upwards of 90% waste in subtractives like CNC milling. You'll start with a block. I mean, let me get a part that would be a nightmare to mill.
Yeah.
Oh, here we go. The Montana mask. This is a this was approved by the NIH. You put a filter in here and fits over your face, and you don't see your chin and your crappy excuse.
Yeah.
For
So
a
for the
beard.
folks who are listening audio only, this is like a kind of a,
It's like a gas
funnel-
mask style. You
like a little mask cup thing that goes over your mouth.
But it's
Now
hard
imagine-
plastic.
Yeah. Imagine, on the concave side, all that material would have to come out, and on the other side, it would have to come out from the other side, and you're left
You need a
with this thin
block
part.
at least that big. You're cutting
Yeah.
at least 80% of that
You're getting-
material away.
Yeah, the vast majority of it is just going to be chips to get rid of.
Yep.
So I think other than like what we've talked about before, which is like the fact that the materials are like plastic and the biodegradable, varying
Yeah.
depending on what material you're using, the biodegradable aspect of it is probably pretty low until it kind of moves forward in the industry. However, the
Yeah.
amount of actual material you end up using in the line of production is probably far less than what
Probably
you would
makes
do
up for it,
traditionally
actually.
in a lot of ways. So, yes and no. It depends how you look at it, I guess. My next question from Google. These are all just what I found on Google, so I just threw them on here. Is 3D printing real?
No. Nope. Figment
It's
of
a
your
figment of
imagination.
your imagination.
Cool. I just wanted to get that one out of the way. How is a 3D printing used in medicine?
I can answer this one.
Do it.
Joint replacements is a big one.
Oh,
And not only just replacing joints, but bespoke joint replacements that fit you exactly, instead of having to choose from like the paradigm before 3D printing existed in biomedical stuff. They would make like maybe 10 sizes of, say, a knee joint replacement, and if you didn't exactly fit, small, medium, large, or whatever size chart they made, then it's like, well, too bad, you just got to pick the closest one, even if it gives you like a funny walk after.
'cause we could use like I don't know medical technology well enough, but you could effectively scan and get a
That's what they do.
perfect model of someone's existing
Yeah.
joint. Yeah.
So
Wow.
I only know the details of this because I looked into it when our mother was considering getting it done.
Yeah. That's awesome.
That's funny.
what they
I looked
do
at it
is-
for my mother too.
See, what they do is they'll take an MRI of your knee, and then they make a CAD model of it, and they design, so you've got your knee bones, right? um they shave off parts of it and put like two little pads, and those are titanium that screw into the bone. And then there's like it's not Delrin, but it's something similar, a very smooth plastic, and that they 3D print, and that is exactly the right size and shape to fit the little tracks they make for the round part of your knee. I forget what the anatomical term is, which they put two little things there, and then those ride on each other super smooth, and they get them exactly right.
Which before it would be way too expensive to have custom replacements done, but now it's more effective to do it that way.
Oddly, the first commercially available 3D printed product was Invisalign. Invisalign is the first.
Wow.
They're all custom 3D printed. They have been.
That makes so much sense. That makes so much sense. That's a great answer to the earlier question of what companies use 3D printing. That's one I did not
That's
think
fair.
of.
Yeah, Invisalign.
That's great.
Because they will. So now they of course have intraoral 3D scanners where you can just 3D scan your teeth, but they're digitally moving your teeth. Then they're 3D printing. I don't believe they actually print the Invisalign part. I believe they
that looks
3D
like it's
print
just
your
vacuum
teeth,
formed,
and then they vacuum form it over. I believe that's how
Still,
that goes.
If they're still using it right in production, so like
there have been plenty of news stories of kids and teens that have access to resin printers that have resin printed their own retainers, and you can do it. I don't recommend it, but you can. Hip
wouldn't do it.
Hip joints are other one. Hip joints are interesting because unlike a knee where it's two pieces of metal and a 3D printed part, the hip is entirely 3D printed. They cut the bone, so they cut the ball out of the ball and socket, and they cut it in a very specific way. And they map it. So then the 3D print that's done, which is TI-64 titanium, and it's a powdered metal, so it's a sintered metal process. So it's a laser
polished
to melt it. A lot of times it's not polished. It self-polishes.
for growing into the.
Well, there's that side, but the side where they connect is not normally polished. It self-polishes. It's no big deal.
Oh.
And TI-64 is pretty smooth as it is. I know it goes through a rotary tumbling process, but I don't know the hardcore specifics. But the trick to that, because they do the cup and the ball, is they include a lattice that bone can grow into.
Right.
There is no permanent hardware. Your bones will grow into the metal. We can rebuild him. We have the technology. And if anyone's looked at the cost of it, $6 million man is not far off. Unfortunately, insurance is, they suck. Insurance sucks. Workers' comp sucks. All this crap sucks. Companies that their sole goal is to spend as little money on you as possible and then to punish you when you need to spend that money are evil. They're inherently evil.
And the rest of the world does not do it this way.
Well, I mean, they all must be wrong. It can't be us.
No. We're the only one who does it our way, which means
I'm not saying that socialized medicine is good. It has inherent faults. But the current American medical system is absolutely screwed. I spent 9 hours in the hospital, and after insurance negotiation, it was a $16,900 bill. Ugh. 9 hours. There are a lot of less than legal things I could do for 9 hours and rack up less than 16 grand. I'm just saying.
Yeah.
Just saying. Now, mind you, thankfully, I don't have to pay that. There's a whole story behind that. I'm not going to get into it on recording because I'm smarter than that. But yeah, medical's really cool. There are some cool stories. Well, the COVID, I think, is the really cool thing with medical 3D printing. Is that kind of covered inside of medical 3D printing? Because this happened locally. Summer Decker. Look at that. I'm adding it to my list. I can reference Summer Decker. Summer, I know Summer. She works at the University of South Florida's biomedical 3D printing division. She developed COVID swabs that are 100% 3D printed out of resin. She worked with Form Labs to do this. They have Form 2s there. And they made, you can make something like 190 swabs a day or something. It's incredible. That's per printer. And these printers they're like $4,000. Okay, they're not cheap. But think about how expensive these would be if if Pfizer made them, right? So cool that she did that. She received international press about it. And I love this girl to death. Or woman to death. She's so sweet. She is not limelighting anything. You know, she'll share stories that talk about her, but it's nothing that's like, oh, look at me, look at me. I love it. She stayed humble. She's hustling like a champ. I got to give props to her. Anyways, next one, Thomas, hit us.
All right, next question is, how is 3D printing being used in education? And Grant, I think you have some experience in this personally.
I do.
So that would be good.
Well, Thomas, do you have experience in education with 3D printing?
A little bit. I mean, as far as like, as designers, we often use like CNC and laser cutters more because we're working more with those kinds of things.
They're more traditional.
Like
there's more experience
in a more traditional designer realm. But if I was say tomorrow I had the opportunity to teach a design core class, like a graphic design core class.
Yep.
And I had a budget that would allow me to buy 3D printers for a classroom. You better believe that I would be including 3D printers as part of that, because graphic designers is such a term that kind of puts people in a box, because we all just learn the same design principles of like the end user and you're solving a problem.
Yep.
And so the moment that people can get their hands on simple programs with 3D anything, and even just taking flat things and making packaging design and then 3D printing objects for whatever you want to do with it, like that's awesome and tangible and cool.
You've given people one
every
more
single
tool
way
to use to solve.
And even if they
problems.
never use it again, you've now forced people to think in 3D, which can inform your two-dimensional process, vice versa. And I would love to bring 3D printers into a classroom for kids, because that's like magic. It's magic today. It's still magic.
Yeah, it's magic to kids.
But that's like so good and inspiring that you can make things with, because it used to be like there is a barrier to entry with some things, right? Because you need a lot of skills to go into a shop class and then produce something, and you're learning a lot of different tools, and that has its own place. But if you can take something that's cheaper and safer and more accessible to kids and younger ages and have them make things that they want to make, like wow.
Well, it's inspiring to the kids, especially.
And it's not just toys, right? I mean, it always, for kids, it starts out as toys. Because, they want to print the Roblox character or the Minecraft character or something from Five Nights at Freddy's. I don't know the game.
Yes.
But, but then they see, it's just like how we need, the more people we expose, the more people that we get thinking about it. Kids inherently think of, what else can I do with this? Because, they're hellions and that's what children do.
And they're creative.
Yes.
Their brains are very pliable.
Yeah, they're still, squishy.
Yeah.
But, I have a few experiences with 3D printing in education. So previously, I was a robotics teacher at Academy at the Lakes. So I coached an FRC team over there. And we had 2 Prusa Mark IIIs, great machines. One of them always jammed. I still believe the PTFE inside of it was messed up, but because the top one worked fine, we didn't need to do a ton of 3D printing. I just kind of left it. I had it printing a few times, but if you left filament in it, guaranteed jam. But huge uses for 3D printing in FRC because students don't have access. Well, a lot of them don't have access.
First robotics competition for those.
Yes, first robotics competition. See, look at that. Grant's adding another one to the list. FRC, FTC, first. All of these can benefit from 3D printing because you have budgets, right? Some schools have massive budgets, have, CNC equipment, but a lot of schools don't. And while Academy of the Lakes is a private school, they are relatively expensive, they give a phenomenal education. If I had a kid and I was in Pasco County, Florida, I'd be sending them to Academy of the Lakes. That school, the headmaster is very welcoming. They just give a damn about the kids. It's a small classroom. And anyways,
Yeah.
you know, the kids are just able to iterate, right? If they have an idea, they can make it in Tinkercad, in Fusion 360. They can make it in whatever they want.
You could even do like SketchUp or something, technically.
SketchUp is terrible. Never use SketchUp.
Oh, I know, but I'm just saying, low barrier to entry things.
Yeah. I mean,
Well,
with
Fusion-
whatever
look,
tools you can.
Tinkercad is browser-based. And if you are a professional, you should not be using Tinkercad.
We
Let
had
me
this
reiterate
conversation
this.
earlier.
If you are a professional and you are using Tinkercad, call us now.
Stop what you're doing and stop that, especially. Kill it with fire.
Stop it. Stop doing it, because you are doing yourself a disservice. Iterating inside of Tinkercad sucks. It's great if you are 15 and have never used CAD before and you're a little apprehensive, so you want to start with something a little bit easier. Great. It is terrible if you are trying to work on a professional atmosphere, because it does not work like CAD. It has lots of downsides that CAD does not have. Now, of course, its upside is its learning curve is incredibly small. But, and it's very easy to build on. But it's not parametric, which is problematic. Although, Tinkercad is great for designing SVGs. If you need to design like a laser cut file, but you need to do it in 3D, doing it in Tinkercad is great because it can instantly save an SVG from your model, which I really like. But coaching the students, we barely got to go to the competition this year because it happened in January, February of 2020.
Right, I remember talking to you then. It was like right at the beginning.
We got there. Everyone was getting set up, and a lady comes over the speaker, the PA, and she is bawling, telling everyone that I'm sorry, with everything going on, we have to cancel. And I just remember looking at the kids, and they were crushed, right? These were seniors that were looking for this to be their last hurrah. And we couldn't give it to them, and it sucked. And thank God we had a small school, because we had no way home. The charter bus was not set to take us home for another 2 days. I'm over here like, screw it, 2-day vacation. And then I'm like, oh yeah, there's 16 children that are going to cause problems. And I will give these kids credit. Not a single one of them complained. They were obviously upset. But there's a difference between being bummed and just complaining. They acted like adults. They stepped up. They came up with unique, innovative ways for us to get home. I could not have been more proud of them when, myself and the other mentor, we are freaking out because we had like 3 days planned.
And it was all in the toilet.
And it's gone. And we thought we were stranded. Thankfully, the school is really cool. They own their own school buses. So they pulled a teacher that had his CDL out of a class, tossed him in the bus, and sent him to Orlando to come and pick us up. So we just had to wait around for 2.5 hours. And that was easy. But I mean, God, they were so good. That's one of my best memories of that group is in the face of absolute certain defeat. They came together, they acted like adults, and damn it, they got treated like adults. And it could not have gone better. They were all, we were waiting for the bus to arrive and everything was being broken out. I know I'm going into a diatribe, but I want to explain this, right? There were crews coming in to pull down all the posters. And as soon as the kids saw it, we never asked them to do it. They got up, they went over, they asked what they were doing and if they could help. And we took these guys' jobs down from like multiple hours down to less than 1. If they were getting paid by the hour, they likely just took a long lunch. But I could not have been more proud. We had very few issues, nothing that we didn't expect. You know, there's the class clown who's going to cause problems, but I mean, you know, no, we did. I was so proud of them. But anyways, we also had the Great American Teach-In recently, where I did a Zoom call to over 100 students in 3 different classes, both online and in person, and showed them all about 3D printing. And you know, normally we'll have a spiel or I do a presentation. I said, screw this, we're going to do it live. And I just kind of said, what do you want to make? And I just went through all these different Q&As with the kids about, could you make this? How would you make this? How do we do this? And I gave them all a challenge, which I wholeheartedly expect none of them to do, is if they can build something in Tinkercad and send it to us, we will print it free of charge and send it to them. Because
Nice.
we want to get them interested, right? You know, these kids are going to grow up to be engineers, doctors, trashmen, whatever, right? And they're all going to also have the ability to vote. And we want them to understand what's out there, be able to make their own decisions, and come up with their own answers and not just listen to what the news media tells them. Because if you just listen to what the news media tells you about 3D printing, you'd think we're just making nothing but ghost guns. And, well, that's garbage.
Yeah, it's because the negative stuff sells.
Right.
Unfortunately.
And I think Thomas really got that, right? The imagination in kids, when they see something being built in front of their eyes, it's amazing. For the past 2 days, I've been in Zephyr Hills for the Zephyr Hills Art Alliance. They had a, kind of a, hey, come out and display your art. So we actually brought the Taz 6 with us, and we're doing live 3D printing demonstrations. And both days, people would bring over chairs and just sit there,
and watch
it print.
It is fun to watch
It
sometimes.
is.
You're
I'm
like,
jaded.
Well,
it's
imagine-
like a fire. It's like a
It
campfire.
is.
The,
It really is.
the thing would be like, imagine the value that you add to, say, like let's say middle school. I feel like middle school is a good place for this to happen, but like
It is.
Yeah.
you have a library, but maybe off in a room that's part of the library or wherever in the school, you have a room that is like a small scale
makerspace.
little
Yeah.
makerspace with a safe laser cutter, a 3D printer, and there are some pretty interesting tabletop laser cutters. My friend has one. She has a whole business making cool earrings. But you have something like that, man. I'm like, during lunch and stuff, that if I knew how to use those machines and was
I'd be
taught
hanging
in
out
some
there.
class,
Yeah.
I feel like so many people would, because that's a place where you can make stuff and just, like,
It's
That's
also a place
so
where the
cool.
antisocial kids can be social. And
Yeah.
that's what tech does, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because we're all geeks, right? I'm sure we all had problems in school.
Well, I gotta say,
With bullies.
kids nowadays, it's a lot easier to be a geek than it used to be.
It's true. Yeah, it's
You know.
true. And
I'll
But
be honest,
I
I had
gotta
a pretty
say-
good time being a geek.
It's fun.
you youngin'. I have memories older than you, Thomas. I can't say.
I think one of the things that 3D printing is doing now is, like, have you noticed over like the last 10 years that coding has really become a huge
It's
thing in
huge.
schools,
Yeah.
which is great because it's bringing an entire generation of kids into, everyone uses software, everyone plays games, uses computer programs, but it's bringing them to the realization that they can make those things.
Well,
you know,
understanding
and that's-
how it works. It's not
And also
just
Exactly.
weird internet box that lets me look up memes.
Ex-
It's something
Exact-
that I can do.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and understanding
And
that
then
someone
now-
else is making it too. Like a
Right.
human being created the thing that you
And then
were
they're
doing
open
things
to
on.
this
Yeah.
as like, oh, that's a career I could have. That's a thing I can go to school for and go do professionally. I think 3D printing is having sort of a democratizing effect also on like engineering, in the same way.
I
Because
think
now
it's a
people are like,
good-
I can make things and I can learn how to go do
Well,
that. And yeah,
even for me, it's become a thing of like,
Mhm.
do I want? I'm not a person who wants to be an engineer.
Mhm.
Like, I like the design
Me, that's
aspect
why.
of things. So like product design and things, which always shocked me whenever Tad and I would get into conversations, because I'm like, oh my god,
I know we'd be
all
like,
the time.
there's
I'm
so
like, we're
much
doing-
overlap.
Yeah, we're like doing the same thing, but with
Yeah.
different skill sets and different sides of it. But
That's why I'm
To
still
me,
pissed
was a
Tad never
very,
told me
like-
about you.
But that was like such a nice like way to understand that engineering wasn't this huge scary thing that was like made out to be, because it's like, oh yeah, like
I mean, it
engineering's
can be. Don't get me
It
wrong.
can
Engineering
be.
can
It
be
certainly
very
can
scary.
be.
but if you wanted to say engineer something that's a lot less heady than, you know, what you would expect is like, oh, you need to engineer robot parts and you also need to work in aerospace or you need to make planes. It's like, no,
Like if you needed to engineer a die cut stickers of a gorgeous tortoiseshell kitty cat, that's not that difficult.
Not really.
Sometimes engineering is as simple as like Tad made a hanger for masks in his house after COVID started.
Yeah.
And that can be it. And I'm like, oh, engineering's a word. Like, and
I
you
do
can
love-
do
Yeah.
it.
And it's an mostly artificial
Distinction
sort
between
of between like art
Yeah.
and engineering.
they're so much closer than people realize.
It's
So much closer.
Engineering is art adjacent, and art is engineering adjacent.
Exactly.
Yes,
And
100%,
3D printing
yeah.
is just kind of adjacent to lots of things.
And
Yeah.
3D printing is great because it almost fits in a beautiful space right in between,
Yep.
where everyone can understand how to and why to use
Yeah.
it between those two areas. So it's like, man, if you got, you know, I've always said, like, you take the artists and you stop separating them on campuses from the engineers, you just suddenly created like a billion businesses all at once.
You would just
Because
really
now
need
that these minds are together.
a few. You might even be able to do a thing. I don't think there is an engineering minor, unfortunately, in many schools.
There's
But there
oftentimes
should be.
not art minors either.
There
unless it's,
there
like, in
needs to
art
be, because
history
you
or
could
something.
And double
easily have
majoring is
it.
a bad move if engineering is one of them.
It's hard.
Yeah.
It's hard. I mean, I know people who did, but you should
We call them masochists.
Yes, the future would be engineering with an art minor and art with an engineering minor.
That
Well,
would be
then you
Get
awesome.
so much out of it.
You've just created some people who are like triple threats at that
Yes.
point. You've suddenly
Yes.
created people that even at a low level understanding. If engineers if engineers were, I can't fault engineers for this because they're taught down this path, but if engineers understood the value that art plays into engineering and vice versa, that artists were also taught that engineering has value. I mean, designers kind of sit in a weird place where we are taught that to an extent.
Yeah,
But if there was
but
a more
usually they're
of an
not.
understanding-
They're sort of pushed into their own little bubbles.
if engineers were taught that, if everyone was taught that we're all doing a very similar thing with different paths going down, because by and large people aren't on the ends of the spectrum really hard. You'll have
No.
people that are like, no, I will be designing rockets, period.
Yeah.
And I want to do that because that's, you know, I like the heavy math and the stress test, you know, all that
Yeah.
garbage. But then I feel like more often you have engineers that sit closer to the middle, just as there are not a ton of designers who are like, I only want to make
I am
magazines.
Picasso, you know. or
Yeah, like
something.
I
Yeah.
will own, but that's artists, not designers, Ted.
Eh.
But you'll have designers that aren't just like, I want to make magazines only. Oftentimes
Yeah.
people are sit way closer to the middle. And we
They
can
just
kinda-
need to be made aware of it.
Yeah, and even if you're just aware of it, you work better with those people because
Yep.
chances are you will be working with those people, right?
Yeah.
So
For
if
sure.
you understand the art side of things, but you don't want to do it, you now understand when a designer tells you you can't use that color, there's a reason for it, not just
Yeah.
because they don't like it. You know,
And I would
it's
say a
things
lot of
like that.
people in our industries come to this realization, but not until years
later on, yeah, which is
But
ridiculous.
we
to
could
me.
be, speeding things up by having that be a point to go over in school already.
Yeah, just make
then
that
it's-
distinction.
Yeah.
You know,
And then it's
and-
like
and
already a
make
thing
clear.
that's in people's minds as they're
Yep.
starting their first jobs. And
And
yeah.
to bring it all back, that's what 3D printing could do for education.
Yes.
Bing, bang, boom.
Big long diatribe over.
No, but this is important,
It
right?
is.
If more colleges heard that, and just kind of looked at it and said, "This is the future." Engineers that also understand the art to it. It's like
Yeah.
that's why like the Detroit School of Design or whatever it is exists, and then SCAD and Ringling. They exist because they not only teach the art, but they teach the science behind the art.
That's what is
Yeah.
so beautiful when you have designers that because that's why I chose to be a designer. More, I do art more on the side than I do design. Design's like my most
Right.
of my professional practice. But that's what personally for me clicked in my head as design, is because while I am probably more creatively inclined as far as my brain and how that works, traditionally, I'll say traditionally creatively inclined, because to say engineers aren't creative is fucking bullshit.
Thank you.
And I hate it when people, it's ridiculous to think that. Like, I could go into a whole thing, but I also had a very technical side. Like, I always liked computers. I thought about how things worked. I cared about how things worked, but I didn't necessarily always want to be the person who was on the side of how does the thing work?
Yeah.
I liked kind of a middle ground, which design solved for me, because it was like the value of the aesthetic decisions you're making and the effect it has on the end user. And then I can also dabble into sometimes the very, strict design of how does it work? What is it made out of? Why is it made out of? And then ask the more creative questions of like, how do I make it different than something else? Or like, why am I doing this in a like more, philosophical way? Or, how does this impact society kind of things? I feel like all of these are so cool. And if you threw a 3D printer, and man, dream class would be engineers, graphic designers, architects, all in the same room. You give
With
them
some business majors.
with some business majors. Actually, no kidding. I was the president of the Graphic Design Guild at MSU, Montana State University. And for a while, we were
Not the
trying
better
really
MSU,
hard.
which is Michigan State University. Go green.
We were trying to go green. Hilarious. We were trying to get together all of these different groups, and we were trying to secure like the deans of these different colleges to make this a real, like, 1 credit meet and greet, get these students together, create a maker space, because we had all these machines separated in different parts of campus, all in different spots. Like the laser cutter was in the architecture building. The 3D printers were only in the engineering building. Like all of the paper cutters and printers were in the design building. And I was like, if you took one of those machines from all of those buildings and you made a dedicated makerspace, and then you held a class with, and we made it distinct. We said designers, architects, business students, and engineers, we could have a class that would make a product at the end of the class and sell it to straight. And we could do that with all these people that never talk to each other for some reason.
And even if they went off on the rest of their own curriculums, you have given them something that they will never get anywhere else.
You've given them the skills to then also work with those people, because you're not going to just work in a vacuum. I mean, some people sure do, but by and large, an engineer is going to have to talk to people that aren't just engineers.
Oh, but engineers talking, that can be tough.
It can be bad. Not all of us are up to the task.
But you know, if engineers took more classes that weren't just so math, physics,
cross-disciplinary,
math.
Yeah.
Cross-disciplinary. I think you would find a lot more charismatic engineers. So colleges, hi, my name's Grant. I own 3D Musketeers. Can you please give us some more charismatic engineers? Because I would love more TADs. It'd be great. We pay pretty damn well, I don't care where they're located as long as they do good work. But you don't pump out charismatic engineers. You pump out
it's a big
personal
problem.
robots. And that's a huge problem when you have people acting like robots, because then it comes into my head, well, why don't I just use robots to do this?
Well, and I feel bad for a lot of engineering firms. I bet the project managers, most of their work is making up for this lack of social skills that a lot of their
it's what did the boss
have.
tell me? How do I have to tell my team? And then work back and forth and not cross lines. Look, we have this problem. This is something that I have to do daily when we work with some of our other engineers that are not as charismatic as you, Tad. That's okay.
You're too kind.
But, you have to play this game of, all right, this is going to not go over, so I have to make sure that I'm telling them what they need to know to do their job.
and
And the rest of the
nothing
minutia
extraneous.
doesn't matter. And it sucks because then it's not. We like to be very personal,
Mhm.
right? I forgot that Tad celebrated Hanukkah instead of Christmas, and that means
Well, I
I'm
celebrate
shipping,
both.
Okay, fine, but that means I'm shipping parts to him that are gonna be a little late. You know, I remember that Brad celebrated Hanukkah, so I, made sure to say Happy Hanukkah when I went to go see him because it was day 2, I think. Yeah, it was day 2. Friday was Saturday. Friday was day 2.
It's the third day, isn't it?
Today's 4, I think.
I'm terrible at this.
Don't you have a menorah or something to tell you that?
Yeah.
You guys have a menorah, right? Or do you not?
Yes, we do.
Are you,
We
it's
do.
not lit.
We do,
Oh,
but
okay.
we haven't exactly been very on top of lighting the
Oh,
candles.
okay, cool.
Wow.
But we'll probably catch up at the last day. Just put them all in, light them all.
I'm gonna tell your rabbi. If you have a rabbi, I don't
No.
know. But this is where you find people can be industry adjacent and not know it and never know it. And
Exactly.
it's a shame because they end up missing out on so many great opportunities.
Mm-hmm.
And it sucks. Colleges, take note. Look, colleges, all of you out there have had a hell of a year. Most colleges are suffering, and suffering is being nice about it, right? They have been dragged through broken glass for the past, year.
Mm-hmm.
If you want to bring people back, you want people to start coming on campus, you need to give them a reason to do it. And a great way to do this is cross-discipline training. This is
And
a
don't
big
just-
deal.
Do not just relegate these cross-disciplinary classes to grad students, because I've seen programs like this, and they do exist, but they're inaccessible to a lot of normal students. And the people
the
that you
time
want to
you're-
reach
Yeah.
are the normal students, not the
You
people
want
that are already
undergrads.
educated. You want undergrads to get cross-disciplinary. You don't
Yeah.
need the people, because the people that are coming back to do cross-disciplinary work know they already want to. You need
Right.
to reach the people that haven't
That
had
don't
that
know
experience,
it's
a possibility,
or
yeah.
don't know it's a possibility.
My father happens to be in higher education. He went to school and never left. He's currently the associate vice president of student services at St. Leo University here in Florida, and that means he oversees everything involving students. He got his PhD later than most. I don't know what age he got it. I think he was 60. But he might come and like Bart Simpson me if I got that wrong. But he did it because he promised my mother's mother that one of her kids would marry a doctor, and they all have failed. So he needed to make sure that he kept his promises, right? My dad's always told me your word is worth more than your dollar, and that's good because I don't have a lot of dollars. But he sees this, and it's tough because a lot of colleges are stuck in the old way of doing things. And, the University of Phoenix didn't help anything, right? When degree mills were a thing and people got used to saying, look, B's get degrees. I ain't here to learn. I'm here for that piece of paper.
You guys got B's? C's get degrees.
C's get degrees. But that's such a bad way of looking at it. College is not about getting a degree. It's about the learning, and it's not about partying. It's not about getting away from mom and dad, which, yes, getting away from mom and dad is good. You grow
That's
up.
a healthy thing in general.
It's
but,
healthy, yes. It's absolutely healthy.
but it's not the entire point.
It's not the entire
Your number
point.
one, you'll get more out of college if you're going there because you genuinely want to learn, not because you're trying to get a percentage point on a scorecard. That is, at the end of the day, oftentimes arbitrary. And the way
Right.
that
Yeah.
you teach things, oftentimes arbitrary. Like,
Oh yeah, depends who you get. A lot
that's
of the
right.
time.
Dude, that's
Yeah.
totally true. And,
It's really-
it's tough because coding, you don't need to go to college for that. You can
Yeah.
take your certs and never go to college and still make 6 figures.
Yeah,
and
But
there-
engineering, you need
That's-
that degree. You have
it's
to
sad
have it.
because I've known a lot of people who dropped out and did something else because they got sick of it. And I know a lot of people who are 4.0 straight A students, and I wouldn't want to work with them.
No.
Honestly, it's not the be all end all.
No, the percentage points you get on a test is like we could get into that whole idea of like
Yeah.
Yeah, we're teaching you from this book, and you need to memorize these equations for some reason on a test,
Because
even though why wouldn't
Google
you
isn't
just...
the thing.
Yeah, but even though, I mean, did you think that engineers back in the day memorized these equations, or do you think they had a book of equations that they would reference because they needed
We
it at
do
a
that
certain
still.
time? Yeah,
But
man.
nobody's got room in their head for
I
all
need to
that.
keep my violin close so I can just string my violin
Yeah,
when we're bitching
like-
about stuff.
Like, just get some Scotch tape and tape up the laminated sheet of equations that I use every day.
Oh, but laminators are so great, though, aren't they?
They really
are. I
are.
love
Oh, so
laminators.
good, so good.
I have a gold. I can foil things. That's great. Like, it's really cool.
Thomas,
Yes.
can we foil a Victoria sticker?
Yes. I think
Because
I'll have to work out the
she's got some light tan on her.
make it gold.
I want to make it gold.
Yeah.
Want
yeah.
my
so
baby
I
doll
think,
to shine.
I think we definitely answered the education question, and you know, I feel like if we go any farther into it, we might as well start another episode.
A new episode.
What we'll do is we'll save these questions for any time that we have like a guest that doesn't show up and we're not a week ahead, because we're not a week ahead.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it's going to be cool, man. I'm excited for what happens with this podcast. You know, we're switching away from education. Now we're moving into more, you know, hey, tell us what you do, hang out with us. Let's see how we can all help each other.
Current events type stuff too.
Yeah, current events. And look, this might just turn into a place where we just hang out and talk shop because we can.
Exactly.
We don't get to hang out all that much
We're
anymore
good at
'cause
that.
We're all really busy.
Yeah.
You know, I know Tad and I are getting to the point where we're pretty burned out. I don't know where you're at. Are you burned out, Thomas?
I'm tired.
Yeah, you know, I think the hardest thing for me is it's when you work for yourself, it gets really exhausting to do
Anything?
I mean, you know this better than probably anyone, but it's just that idea of like, yeah, sometimes you don't work full days, but other days you work way more than full days, and then you can't motivate yourself, and that's like frustrating, and then you don't
Yeah.
end up even doing things that make you less stressed somehow. Like,
dude,
exactly.
and you just get into like this vicious cycle of some days I'm really productive, but that burns
Yes,
me
it's
out
called
for another
depression.
day. Yeah. And so, but yeah, I'm pretty burnt out too, but not in the sense of like I'm overloaded with work. It's almost like a normal amount of work feels like more than it is.
Oh, yeah. Like I started a list, and I'm going to put it up to the screen. It is a full junior legal pad of things for 2 days. This is 2 days worth of
I do
stuff,
that
and I'm
too.
still not done this list yet.
Oftentimes I'll go through only a few things on my list and it'll last me like a whole week. But
Yeah.
you just have to take the small wins.
And
you know?
I think the hard thing when you're a business owner that people don't get, whether you're a contractor, like I guess everyone here is technically a business owner at the end of the day, right? Tad, you
Yeah.
own your own business
way, yeah.
working for 3D Musketeers because you're an independent contractor. Thomas, same way, right? You have your own business doing graphic design and artwork, but you also, you know, utilize that with 3DM. And
Right.
me, of course, running everything else for 3DM. Dude, it's tiring some days.
It is because
And-
you have to be your own motivation.
Now that I've joined the blue light filtering glasses master race, which I don't know if I said this on the last podcast, but if you don't own blue light filtering glasses, dude, the cheap ones from Amazon work great. I don't get tired anymore.
You don't have to.
I was
you're
up
not
till-
forced to.
I was up till 3:30 in the morning working, and I'm like,
It's
oh shit,
dangerous.
it's 3:30 in the morning. My eyes don't get tired from staring at the screen. But I'm paying for it because I spent like 3 days staying up that late and then waking
It's
up
bad
at
for
like
you.
6, 7 o'clock in the morning. Dude, it beats the crap out of you. And
Yeah.
there's just so many things, and you don't know where to start. And that's part of what we want this podcast to be, like a kind of a therapy session for other inventors and business owners that are in this scenario. It's why I've talked about I want to bring on a therapist and talk about how
Yeah.
important mental health is here in these industries, because so many of us are willing to say, you know what, screw my health, because if I'm not working, I'm losing money.
Which, while it may be true, it's a bit short-sighted. wouldn't
Yeah,
you say?
it's
'Cause
penny smart, dollar stupid.
Yeah.
You need to take care of your. If in my case, the thing is, some days I will take off during a week, just because I really feel like I can't do things that day, or I'll do a lot less. Because at the end of the day, I'm the machine that is making my business run, and if I break this or something goes wrong,
nothing.
or I run myself ragged, then I won't even be able to do this
Right.
going into the future. And I mean, that's the only thing that keeps me centered when I need to, is like, no, it's okay. You can take the day because it's going to make your tomorrow better.
That
and
much better,
if
yeah.
it doesn't have to get done now, you can always figure it out later, you know?
Exactly.
So, yeah. But, you know.
And I think that's a great place to end it, right? Take care of yourselves out there. If you haven't called your loved ones, give them a call.
Do that.
Let them know you love them. Dude, it's the holiday season. It doesn't matter what you celebrate, if you celebrate. Call them. Wish them happy holidays. You know, it's December 13th, okay? We're in the middle of Hanukkah. We've got Christmas coming up. I don't know when the hell Kwanzaa is and any other December-based holidays, but call your loved ones. We know you haven't listened to us the past couple episodes, so maybe listen to us on this one. And if you have, call again. They want to hear from you. But take care of yourselves, right? This is the time of the year when suicides hit an all-time high for people because maybe they can't afford to give their kids the Christmas they want. Look, they're never going to remember it. What kids care about is not toys. They don't care what Santa brings them for Christmas. They care about spending time with you. And I know maybe they'll get a little upset that the PS5 wasn't under the tree.
I mean,
and I might be a little bummed that a 38, I don't know. See, I was going to go, I might be bummed that a 3080 is not going to be under my tree. But I'm not worried about that. I want to spend time with my family. And in this day and age where going to see your family could be a death sentence because of COVID, you need to be thankful for the time that you have. If you want to reach out to your family members and you can't, use Google Meet. Does like 45-minute videos totally free. Zoom does 40-minute videos totally free. Skype, if it's still around, I believe is free forever. But, you know, seriously, call them. And if there's family members you haven't talked to in a while, whether you're pissed off or whatever, it's time to fix that. I know we're all about making awesome here. I mean, hell, that's the name of the damn podcast. But we want you to also take care of yourselves because, look, my last head injury was because I didn't take care of myself. I worked almost 3 days straight. No food, barely any water. I passed out. I hit a countertop, a cabinet, countertop on my chin. So it was head split, right under my nose was split.
And bounced.
My chin was split. I hit the ground. I sprung back up. I fell again. Thankfully, it was during the day. There were people that I knew. You know, I had a blood pressure of 37/40.
Oh,
which is dead. I mean, that is effectively
you're
dead.
barely not.
Yeah, you're not there. My body shut down, and that is literally burnout. It was burning your candle at both ends, and all of a sudden, there's no more wax left. And you got to be careful about that. And that is what changed me, right? Getting a cat, although the cat got us, but getting animals really helps you take better care of yourself because you need to take care of them. Take a vacation, take a day off of work, right? Take a long weekend.
If you work for yourself, taking a day off midweek, or even
take a Monday.
Days I'll do half days, which are better for me. I like doing that.
Well, because a lot of times in the end, especially if you have that flexibility when you're working for yourself.
Yep.
Because the
I wish
client's
I could do
not going to know the difference.
God, I wish I could do 4 10s. And I'm doing 7 10s or 7 12s.
Yeah, and I mean, like at the end of the week, a lot of the times because sometimes I'll work on a weekend too, but my hours end up being comparable to any other time, but it feels better for me. And I think it's, take a walk. You take a long time.
And if you're sitting all day, get a damn good desk chair. Stop being on the $40 piece of crap. Stop it with your standing desk master race. I will sit with the blue light filtering master race right here. But the standing desk, they're so expensive.
Mine was $80
What?
because it sits on top of my existing desk, and I just pull it up.
Oh, right. Oh, I have too much crap on my desk to do that.
Sometimes it makes it a little small, but it's a pretty big surface
Yeah.
at the end of the day.
I like someone like my mom who works from home right now. We're looking at getting her a standing desk, and they're like $300 for a motorized one. We don't want one with the crank. We don't want her to have to pull anything up. The motorized ones are nice, but like she's got a really, really nice desk chair that I got, and it's an IKEA chair, but it's known to be one of the nice. They're like $100. Don't look at a desk chair and say, oh, I only want to spend $20 in a desk chair. And if you do, get a nice pad for it, one that takes pressure off your tailbone. They're like $30 pads on Amazon. These are great ideas for the holidays for your loved ones, people that work from home or sit all day, something to help them keep better posture. Like you'll see I slide down a little bit because the pad that I sit on doesn't grip my chair. Yeah. So sometimes, and I'll lean forward and I can feel it.
Mm-hmm.
Taking care of yourself makes all the difference. Go get a massage. Go see a chiropractor. Talk to a freaking therapist. Look, if you like to go to the bar with your buddy, go to your bar with your buddy and just complain to each other. It'll work, promise. Right?
It's good for you.
If you buy the round, you're doing the complaining. They buy the round, they're doing the complaining. But look, this is therapeutic and this is stressful times for everyone. A lot of people are enjoying the work from home atmosphere, and I think businesses are seeing the benefit of people working from home. But it's dangerous because the line between home and work is
blurred.
Very blurred. And especially for you home-based business owners out there, what's up? That's really problematic.
And I'm very bad at it, and I did my best to avoid it. And I've kind of done it out of necessity, and I've gotten to a healthier working relationship with it. But if I had the option, I would have a separate space for me to go to do work.
Yep, because you can turn off
exactly.
Like I could turn off my main computer and just work from my phone, right? And I can't do that if I work from home. So I totally agree. That's why we started 3D Musketeers in a shopping mall, because I wanted something that wasn't my home. Really expensive. Don't do that. Anyways, it's been over an hour and a half. Let's let the ladies and gents go here. You know, this was our SEO blast episode because we're trying to do better on SEO. So this is going to be hitting it all. Thomas, I need you to send me all your questions so I can put them in the descriptions. But everybody out there, keep making awesome. And as always, you can reach out to us at 3dmusketeers.com. Have a good one.
See ya.
Bye.